Welcome into another edition of the Lab presented by Champion Circle. And we're looking forward to having a very special guest, very special conversation today with Josh Fox. Josh, I'm going to give you a quick intro here. I know you're a Michigan grad alongside your sister. You take great pride in that. Also, you take great pride in giving back. Josh started the Brady Hunter Foundation, which he named after his dog, who was also named after Tom Brady. So we'll get into that story in a little bit. Also have a TV show called Extraordinary World with Jeff Corwin that airs on CBS every single Saturday. Awesome show. A lot more other philanthropic work that you do that we'll touch base on. And of course, your involvement with Champion Circle, our sponsor of the show. So, Josh, how you doing, man? It's great to see you. Thank you so much for joining.
Thanks, Jake. I remember you in school. You were an incredible tight end, and what a legend. And the stuff you're doing after school, really, really proud of you, man. You're a great person.
Thank you. Thank you. A lot to get to here with you. I want to start with the foundation. Okay. So it's the Brady Hunter Foundation. Maybe it's better off if you tell us the story behind it, how it got started, what kind of work you're doing, and why it's important to you.
I got lucky, Jake. My last year at Michigan, we won the national championship with Brian Greasy and those guys. And Tom Brady was at school very similar years that I was there, and he is not what he is today. I mean, the greatest of all time. But I've always been an animal lover. I've always had pets my entire life, and probably 20 years ago or so, I got a dog and named him Brady. Kind of in homage and honor of Tom Brady, such a great guy.
You
And
named it before, but this is the fascinating thing. Tom Brady was not Tom Brady. You're talking 20 years ago at this point, right?
yeah, I still have the helmet in college that he signed for me, 25 years ago.
That's awesome. Okay, so you named the foundation after your dog, who was named after Tom Brady.
Yeah, and then he passed a couple of years ago, unfortunately, and it was just devastating for me. And I wanted to turn a negative into a positive. And I've always wanted to help animals. I've always helped animals, but not in the big way that we do today. So I named the foundation the Brady Hunter Foundation. Hunter is Brady's brother, my other dog. And it was just so perfect to name the foundation after the animals that have inspired me the last 20 years to do good. And there's three pillars that we really focus on, Jake. We focus on animals, we focus on children, and we focus on food insecurity. We're in 15 countries at this point.
Wow,
We've done over 80 projects, and every week, every month, we're just looking for new causes to support.
that's awesome. What kind of breed is your dog's?
Brady was a Labradoodle, and Hunter is a Cockapoo.
Nice. I got a Bernese Mountain Dog and an English Lab, so I'm a dog person. Love dogs. They become part of your family. Clearly, you love Brady enough to start a foundation. Why is it important to give back? We're going to talk about a ton of the stuff you do, giving back. Clearly, you got a big heart for it. Where did that start, and why is it important to you?
It started, I think, with my grandparents and my parents. They were always the people that hosted people at our house and hosted the Super Bowl parties at our house. They were always just very generous people and warm people and wanted to have their friends and family around them. So I think you're always a product of your upbringing and your family. And they just taught me great values and morals.
And for more information, I was looking at your website. It's the bradyhunter.org, right? That's where people can find you?
Yep, bradyhunter.org, exactly.
And we'll link that down in the description below. So let's keep on going on. You also work with the Champion Circle in a number of different ways. The reason we got connected initially was the toy drive this year. So could you kind of tell me how that conversation got started and why it was important for you to be involved with the toy drive?
I think mentorship is so important for young children to be mentored by people that have more experience than them. And I've gotten the pleasure the last bunch of years to really spend some time with Michigan student athletes and help them as friends, help them as mentorships, help them with their career. As you know, Jake, not everybody's going to the NFL and to the NBA. And so we need these kids to be good people, and we need good mentors for them. And so I think there's a bunch of us at Michigan that truly care about these kids and want to see them grow up as great adults.
I did want to. That's one thing I've been so curious about because working in sports media, I get exposed to a lot of different coaches, a lot of different programs, a lot of different players, and everybody's unique. And I don't mean that. I'm not saying this because I'm like you and love Michigan and graduated from there, but boy, does it seem like there's a different type of person, a different character that's part of the Michigan football team. Can you talk about the type of guy that you've connected with at Michigan in their character?
It's really unbelievable, Jake. Like, how do you win the national championship with 3 stars and 4 stars and not win it with 5 stars? You win it with great culture. You win it with great kids. And, when I've spent that time that I do with Jim Harbaugh, I mean, this is a man who truly, truly cares about his kids. When you spend time with Jack Harbaugh, his dad, you really understand where
Yeah.
Jim came from. And it really is. It's like, it's team, 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 as they talk about all the time. And if you get rid of the I attitude and you get rid of the ego, and all you want to do is help your brothers and be with your brothers and be a team, like, that's how you win a championship, when you really truly care about each other.
How does that show up with the toy drive, for example? Can you kind of paint the picture? I know a lot of our viewers and listeners were a part of the toy drive, but for those that maybe weren't exposed to it, can you paint the picture for us and how that community shows up?
That's what it does. I mean, look at Blake Corum. You know what I mean? That kid was so caring, and he so cared about the community. He did the turkey drive and the toy drive. And I think he set the stage even for this past year, for some of the newer guys who really believe that they're part of this community in Ann Arbor and really want to give back and see the smiles on the kids' faces. And I think the thing that we did this year that put a little new spin on the toy drive was we had a pet part of it. It was mostly going to children. And we came in and said, listen, we're going to support the toy drive this year, but we want things going to the pets and to the animals.
Yeah, could you tell me a little bit more about that and give us some numbers? I know there was big time numbers, it sounded like, of the amount of toys that were raised. I heard they had to bring in extra trucks because there was so much giving going on.
It really is. And, I think I talked to you in the past, Jake, about this kid, Henry, from Henry's Lemonade. This is a local 8-year-old boy who loved animals so much. He started Henry's Lemonade stand this past year and leading up into the holidays. And this kid was on national TV. The story went viral. He had entire fire departments, police departments. He had, biker, groups coming to give him and buy his lemonade $1 at a time. And, we came in, we saw this national story. I love Michigan. I want to do anything for the local area. And we came in as the Brady Hunter Foundation and gave him 5X, the largest donation he had ever received. And what he's doing with the money, because he loves animals, is he is giving it to shelters. He's giving it to animal shelters.
Nice, nice. It's just it's one of those things that warms your soul. And that kid, hopefully, he runs for like political office one day. Hopefully that guy climbs the ladder and can continue to grow and grow and grow. And I'll be voting for Henry when he becomes eligible to run for president, because to have that kind of foresight and be that giving, it's really, really
Well,
spectacular.
that was the experience I wanted them to have, Jake. They had never had that Michigan football experience. So I brought his mother, his father, him, his sister to a Michigan football game. They got to go on the field pregame. They got to meet the players. Like, they had this lifetime memorable moment where, it was all due to his good work that was paying it forward.
Yeah. And that's why Michigan is Michigan. That's why, so for me, Josh, I grew up in Columbus, Ohio, and believe it or not, I grew up a Buckeye fan. And everybody asked me like how and why and what's the story. And I just described the feeling I got. And it's not something I can really put into words, but the feeling I got being in the big house for the first game, Notre Dame, Michigan, under the lights, Denard Robinson, DeRoy Roundtree, and then the community aspect. I'm like, man, there's just special people, and I want to be around special people because I know good things happen when I'm surrounded by special people. And to see what Champion Circle's doing, what the impact the toy drive has had, and then Josh, to thank you for your leadership both with the Brady Hunter Foundation, the toy drive, and Henry's Lemonade Stand. It's freaking spectacular, and the world's going to be a better place for that. You mentioned went to 15 games in a row last year. So as we're getting ready to talk about or cover or watch the national championship game this year. Last year it was Michigan's time. You went through all 15 games. Can you talk about the journey, like what that was like for you as a lifelong Michigan fan?
When you meet the coaches, when you meet the kids, and you realize how incredible these kids and these coaches are, like the character of these people, it just inspires you to want to be around them. And in the beginning of the season, like in freezing Nebraska and all these places in the Midwest where nobody wanted to go, when we were like 3-0 and 5-0, and I don't think anybody really thought, that we could do it to go undefeated. But my dad is such a proud of Michigan guy too. Like he sent me and my sister both to Michigan, as you said, and so he's diehard fan also. So it was pretty special to bring my father along for the journey, and it was really an incredible year for him and I to be together. And Jim Harbaugh and I would kind of joke around. We'd say, "You can't win them all unless you're Michigan,"
Right, right.
And went from 9-0 to 10-0, and all of a sudden, we had won the national championship. But even just like JJ McCarthy, like it's just hard to meet a kid that kind, that caring. It's just the culture is just unbeatable.
And genuine too. Like, I know there's a lot of players that are guys you're taught how to act, but for Michigan, there was no teaching needed. It was just, genuine energy from the heart, caring good guys. And you talked about the culture earlier. I think that's a big reason Michigan was able to go undefeated and win the national title game, is that was the most aligned and together team I've seen in my lifetime. So it was such a special year. Maybe to spin it forward though, what was this year like for you as a Michigan fan? Now going on, you've been a fan for a few decades. Talk about coming off a national title game. What was your perspective this year?
Well, what I saw, like for example, when we hired Dusty May, was the same things I felt about Jim Harbaugh just being an incredible human. Spending time with Dusty May, I feel the same. Like
Mhm.
he gets his kids to perform at an elite performance because they actually care about him and they care about each other. And so, spending time with Kim Arico, she's from Long Island. That's where I grew up. Like her and I have a great bond. I mean, she's such an incredible woman. Her kids love her you know, uh, Brandon, the incredible hockey coach, like he's just so relatable. Brandon Naruto. I mean, he's such a good kid. He's such a great guy, and like you just see the interaction with his players. And I think Ward Manuel has done such an incredible job at finding the culture and the people that care. They may not be the most talented, they may not have the most wins, but the key is they actually care so much about their kids, the way they care about their own kids. When I talk to Brandon Naruto, he's like, I have 30 kids, and he like counts like his own kids and the kids on the team as the same sentence. Like he looks at his own children the way he looks at his players.
Give Ward a ton of credit. It's a tough job, man, and you're gonna catch some heat, being that visible. And Ward has, but he stood strong, and to see the direction the basketball team's going, the football, all the programs. Ward's done a good job. I'm glad you mentioned him, and we appreciate you, Ward. If for some reason you're tuning in here, I think the obvious question, Josh, is like, why is Michigan this important to you? I know you graduated, but and there will always be that special tie, but the amount that you are giving back in the level of involvement in the community and with Champion Circle, why is it so important?
When I think back to like my success in my own friendships and my own relationships, like I met lifelong friends, lifelong relationships like 25 years ago in Michigan.
Yeah,
And I feel that I am part of who I am today is because of the friendships and the relationships that I built at Michigan, the networking that I did, the people that I met there. I just feel like part of who I am as a person, my soul, my heart, my caring
yeah.
comes from the people that I met at the University of Michigan.
I completely agree. Listen, I met my wife there. Like it's again, it's that same feeling. It's just really, really special. A few more things I wanted to touch on. I mentioned this in the open. Extraordinary World, a show that you started, correct, with CBS. Could you kind of give us the story of how that came about, and maybe tell us a little bit about what people can expect when they tune in to watch?
Yeah, so our show aired January 4th, just a couple of weeks ago on CBS National
First
TV.
episode, is that right? You just started?
Yeah, January 4th was our first episode.
Congratulations. That's freaking awesome. Amazing.
Yeah, this weekend will be our third episode.
Nice.
And I had the absolute honor, pleasure to meet Jeff Corwin, who is the legend for animals
Yep.
and conservation on television the last 30 years. I think this is his 15th television series in 30 years. Like, nobody can say that, it's just incredible. Like, and this is a man who has fought his entire life for animals, fought his entire life to save this beautiful planet that we have, the only planet that we have. And he loved the stories that we were doing at the Brady Hunter Foundation. And he said, listen, let's go to CBS. Let's pitch this idea of Extraordinary World with Jeff Corwin. And the stories are ordinary people doing extraordinary things.
Yeah.
Everyday heroes. That's the concept. And to give you a phenomenal example, when Jim Harbaugh left to go to the Chargers, we got introduced to the Spanos family, this incredibly philanthropic family in Los Angeles, and they have the Chargers Impact Fund. And this is an incredible story, Jake, what I'm about to share with you. They, for the past 20 years, have done a Bikes for Kids program in Los Angeles, and they typically give away 100 bikes to an underprivileged school in the LA area. But
Mhm.
this was the 20th anniversary of this program, and they built a relationship with the Brady Hunter Foundation. And we said, we're going to amplify this thing 4X. We're going to give away 400 bikes this year to these kids in LA. So we found this school in Compton, Los Angeles. And for those of you that don't know, Terry Crews, right? The incredible, incredible Terry Crews from America's Got Talent. Terry Crews grew up in Flint, Michigan. He also played his college ball at Western Michigan, and Jack Harbaugh was his coach.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So Terry Crews came out. He was kind of like the MC of the day. And we tricked these kids into thinking that only 5 of them were going to get the bikes, and they had to write an essay. And the essay, Jake, was so special. It was about, what are your dreams? What are your goals? What do you want to be when you grow up? And
Mm.
every kid in the school had to write it down and write an essay. I was so lucky. I read an essay of a kid who wanted to be a veterinarian. So, of course, for me, that was
Yeah,
special to read that one.
yeah.
But when we pulled back the curtain and we revealed 400 bikes to these kids, and Terry Crews was there, I mean, it was a legendary moment. And like, that's one of the episodes on our TV show. And Terry Crews was able to help us amplify that.
Gosh, man, that is so special. Thank you. Thank you for making an impact. I've always felt that, that it's so important to give these kids a chance, because the best leaders come from those types of situations, because they have that natural empathy and that natural understanding and an organic perspective about life. And what you're doing there with all of your work is giving these kids a chance, and the ripple effect that will have going forward. It's exponential. If one person helps 2 people, and then those 2 people each help 2 people, that's exponential. You're doing it on a massive, massive scale. And hopefully those kids will grow up and then make an impact further. And you could just then picture the type of world we will be building for many, many years to come. All right, we're going to keep going down the list here. You also work with the Detroit Police Athletic League. You have an awesome story about what you did with them last year. Can you kind of break it down for us, your involvement with the Detroit Police?
Yeah, there's this incredible group of people that protect the Michigan football players, the Michigan athletes, the Michigan coaches that are part of the local Ann Arbor Police Department, the Detroit Police Department, and, really have built some really nice relationships with them. And they had approached me about the Detroit Police Athletic League. And if you are a local person in Michigan, so many of the athletes have been impacted by the Detroit PAL. Like, they grew up and attribute a lot of their success to being part of that organization. So we were approached to rent out the entire big house, my foundation, which we did at the Indiana game this year. So Michigan football was on the road,
Yeah.
and we took over the entire stadium, the big house. and we hosted their playoffs there. I mean, these kids were so happy. They were so inspired to be able to sit and play on the same field of the Michigan football national champions this year.
Of course, it's just an unbelievable experience. What were you where? What was your involvement at that point beyond renting out the big house? Like, what else were you doing? Did you get in the action at all? Were you competing? Are you a competitor down on the field?
I was not personally there that day, but my
Okay.
team was there, and Mayor Dugan, who's an incredible human being, also came out to speak to the kids, to inspire the kids. I mean, he's just a great, great guy, also, and took his weekend to come and support these kids. But I've been a huge, competitor my whole life. If anyone, comes down to Miami, the Padel game, or some people call it paddle, is like the craze now in Florida and around the world, and it's just a great game.
That's
And
your game.
your old buddy Wilton Spate, who's
Yeah.
another just legendary human, love that guy.
Yeah.
He's considered one of the best padel players in Florida.
Okay. I'm gonna next time I'm down in Florida, I'm gonna hit you up. I want to find out what's up with this Padel, and I want to compete with Wilton more than anything. I want to try to take him down. He's a great golfer too. I don't know if you're into golf. Wilton, phenomenal golfer. So Wilton's kind of got it all.
It kind of helps when you're 6'7" and you're smashing the ball at the net.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so want to put a bow on this episode. You work with Champion Circle. How did you get involved with them, and what have you seen? Maybe what can you share with our viewers about the impact that they have on the football team and maybe just athletic teams in general?
It all started with my dad and me meeting Jim Harbaugh and Jack Harbaugh, and the four of us really spent some very quality time together. And when I saw the relationship between Jim and his entire family, all his kids, he has a lot of kids,
Yeah.
his wife, Sarah, I was like, this is a family man. This is a man who I believe, I want to spend time with. And then when I saw his relationship with the coaches, I saw his relationship with the players, I was just like, this is a group of people that I just want to spend more time with. This is a group of people that I can learn from them and they can learn from me. And I think that's what life's all about, is what are the lasting memories and friendships and relationships that you build? Because when life is over, what else matters?
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it goes back to the central theme of our show is making that impact. That's what life is about, and that's what matters. So, Josh, man, thanks so much for your time. It's a pleasure to speak with you. It's a pleasure to listen to your story. Thanks for your impact, and to our viewers, we're going to link all the foundations down here in the description below, so you guys can find out more information and how you can get involved, and maybe just send a thank you note to Josh down in the comments. So, Josh, I appreciate you, man. Great
No,
to
the
see
last thing I would love to just share, Jake, sorry
you.
to interrupt you, is I think the impact that we have seen in the collegiate level of sports influencing academics. You know what I mean? Like, look at all these schools that may not have been the best, the highest academic schools, but their sports program has inspired the best academic people to want to be there. And I think that's what I've seen over the last 20 years, is how sports has impacted intelligence, how sports has impacted academics. And that's what it's about, right? Like, sports can only take you so far. You got to make sure that your brain and your intelligence is so important. It's not just about sports.
Yeah. That's what I tell when I'm talking to recruits. I say, and especially in the world of NIL, if these young men can zoom out a little bit, because sure, there's substantial money being offered to these players, but what's the value of a degree from Michigan? What's the value of the network you get from being a Michigan Wolverine for life and getting to be involved in some of these things that you're leading and the conversations we're having? I completely agree. I think that is only going to grow and become more and more important going forward. So I appreciate you saying that.
And even you, Jake, you're so inspiring, like, what you did with your, football career, and look what you're doing now. And like, you've made such a great name for yourself after football. So us Michigan fans, we're very proud of you, Jake.
I appreciate that. Thank you. It's one big family. So I appreciate you, Josh, and thanks so much for joining us.
Have a great day.
Okay, guys, it's been another episode of The Lab presented by Champion Circle. It's going to slow down this offseason, but plenty to talk to and plenty of things to look forward to going into next year. You guys know where to find us. We'll see you next show.